Welcome to another video from ExplainingComputers.com. This time we're going to look at FydeOS. This is based on the open source ChromiumOS, so it's very similar to ChromeOS, which is used on Google Chromebooks, but FydeOS can be used without a Google account, and it can also run Android as well as Linux applications. So let's go and take a closer look. To understand FydeOS, let's start with the Chromium projects. These include ChromiumOS, which is a Linux-based operating system that was open sourced by Google in 2009 and which is intended to provide a fast, simple, secure experience for people who spend most of their time on the web. ChromiumOS provides the foundation for ChromeOS as used on Google Chromebooks. However, it's also the basis for some other operating systems such as ChromeOS Flex. As I've covered in other videos, ChromeOS Flex can be installed on many PCs and Macs to give them Chromebook-like functionality. However, ChromeOS Flex must be used with a Google account, cannot currently run Android applications, and is not available for ARM-based SBCs. And this gets us to FydeOS, which is also based on ChromiumOS and produced by Fyde Innovations. Just like ChromeOS, FydeOS adds proprietary content to ChromiumOS to provide additional functionality, which here includes the ability to run Android applications. FydeOS is also available for a wide range of PC hardware as well as some ARM-based SBCs. And it can be used with a Google account, a FydeOS account, or a local account. It's also worth noting that as part of the Fydeverse up here, there's yet another option called OpenFyde, which, as the name suggests, is an open source version of FydeOS. However, by default, OpenFyde does not automatically update. And as it's used as a development platform for new and experimental features that may not be stable, in this video we're going to stick with FydeOS. Oh, and if all of this sounds very confusing, there's a great overview of the features of ChromiumOS, ChromeOS, FydeOS and OpenFyde on this OpenFyde GitHub page, which I'll link in the video description. To get FydeOS, we click on Download, after which we need to pick a version. The default here is FydeOS for PC, which is what we're going to be using, but there's also FydeOS for VMware if you want to install it in a VMware virtual machine, FydeOS for You, which is customized for certain devices, not least there are versions for various older Microsoft Service tablets to bring new life to them. That's rather cool. And there's also FydeOS for SBC, which, as we can see, is available for a Raspberry Pi 5, a Raspberry Pi 4, an Orange Pi 5, a Cardos Edge 2, and a Radza Rock 5B. If we go back up to the top and click on Pricing, we can see that FydeOS for VMware is free, whilst FydeOS for You, the version customized to certain hardware, is paid via a subscription, which here in the UK is $14.99 a year. Meanwhile, FydeOS for PC is labelled as free-ish, which clearly needs explaining. And over on this page, it's noted that the use of FydeOS for PC, FydeOS for SBC and FydeOS for VMware is free and perpetual, but does not include additional value-added services. And as we can see, such services include support as well as system upgrade over the air. And what this means in practice, as detailed in the FAQ, is that whilst minor maintenance upgrades for FydeOS for PC are free, major milestone updates are not. So when a major update arrives, the user either has to do a clean install, which will be free, or to pay a small one-off fee. And if we go across to pricing and we go down all the way to the bottom, we find information on this, which shows us that the milestone versions will be optionally chargeable at here £2.49 here in the UK, which is about $3.33. So, with all this clear, let's go back to downloading our file. Let's go back to there, and here we are with FydeOS for PC, where 3 possible ISO files are available. Firstly, there's an installer for PCs with older Intel processors, such as 3rd to 7th generation Intel Core chips with integrated Intel graphics. Secondly, there's an installer for PCs with 8th generation or later Intel processors, again with integrated graphics. And finally, there's an installer for PCs with Intel or AMD processors that have either integrated or discrete AMD graphics. And these different options cover the vast majority of PCs and laptops, with two important exceptions. Firstly, very old computers, including those with 32-bit processors and 1st or 2nd generation Intel Core chips, cannot run FydeOS. And secondly, FydeOS does not support computers with NVIDIA graphics. Now, this may sound like a very major constraint, but we need to remember that FydeOS is a lightweight, cloud-centric operating system intended to be used on laptops and lower-end desktop PCs, and these are unlikely to have an NVIDIA GPU. In this video, we're going to test FydeOS on my Radza X4, which, for our purposes here, is an N100 mini PC. And as the N100 is a 12th generation Intel processor, we'll download the second option here, click on official download like that, and save the file. There we go, and we'll just speed on through until the download is finished. There we are, we now have the file, which we now need to use to create a bootable USB drive. And we'll do that using the Lena Etcher, where we just need to pick up the file. There it is, like that. And I've already plugged in a USB drive, quite a large one, 32 gigabytes, although you only need an 8 gigabyte drive, and we'll select like that, and then click on Flash, and confirm to Windows that everything is okay. And as we use the magic of filmmaking to speed on through, I will as usual note that writing an operating system, here FydeOS, to a USB drive will delete all data from that drive. And there we are, it's finished, so we can now test out FydeOS. Right, I've now plugged the USB drive into our computer and powered it up. And to boot from the drive, I'm pressing the F7 key to access the boot menu on this system, although it could well be another key on your computer, such as F8, F11 or F12. Anyway, here it was F7, so let's select the USB drive and enter to boot up FydeOS. And let's now speed on through. And here we are, it now wants us to choose a language and keyboard, so I will do that. And we'll press on OK. And we're now given the option to either install FydeOS or to try it out first. And we're going to try it out first, which I would recommend because you want to test it's going to work with your hardware, audio, maybe a trackpad driver on a laptop, Wi-Fi, things like that. So let's click on Next. Here we go, and we now need to accept the terms of service and also a privacy statement. And then at this screen, we need to select what type of account to use. Now, it's worth noting that because this is like ChromeOS on a Chromebook, we could here browse as guest if we just want to access a browser, but for full functionality, we do need to log in with some type of account. And the great thing about FydeOS is it can be a Google account, it can be a FydeOS account that you create, or we can use a local account down here. And once we select that, it says, do you really want to use a local account? Yes, we do. And I now just need to enter a local username. I'll use EC, and of course, a password. And there we are, it's created my local account, and I'm going to do some scaling. This will scale up things once we have installed. I normally use quite a large scale factor like that, and I'm happy to stick with the auto light dark theme settings. And there we are, we're ready. And I will join the user experience program, why not? And we'll get started. And here we are, running FydeOS. And if you've got any experience running ChromeOS on a Chromebook, you'll see it's very, very similar. We have a shelf at the bottom. We have a menu over here, which allows us to do things like control the volume, like that. We've also got settings here. Let's click on that. I'm going to go to accessibility, I think, and a cursor and touchpad. We're going to have a larger mouse cursor so we can see it in the video. Not quite that big, but maybe something like that. That looks pretty good. And oh look, it's asking us to activate the Android system. We'll be doing that a bit later on after we've installed FydeOS. And over here we have the launcher, which gives us access to applications. And there are lots of exciting things here, as we can see. Most of the applications here are in effect web links because this is a cloud-based system, but there are some local applications such as, for example, the file manager. There it is, we can use that to manage files. And as part of our initial testing, let's just run up a browser. This is the Chromium browser with a nice bird there. Let's go to ExplainingComputers.com. There we go, we can clearly browse the web on this system. Can we get to YouTube and play a video? Hopefully we can. Looks like we can, doesn't it? Yeah, that's working absolutely fine. We've clearly got audio and stuff working, so this system is okay on our hardware. So it's now time to get on with a full install. Although just before we do that, I want to point out something that's very exciting indeed, which is that the USB drive we're working from here is persistent. And to show you that, let's just do a reboot. And oh look, on our second boot from the USB media, it's remembered our account. So I can log in again. So what this means is, if you want, you can have a totally portable version of FydeOS that you carry around on an external USB media. So, having found out that exciting thing, let's now do an install. So to do that, we're going to just sign out like that, which gets us back to being able to install FydeOS. So I'll click on Install, and unlike with ChromeOS Flex, we can do a full disk installation, which will delete our current operating system, or we can do a multi-boot installation, which I didn't expect to find here. I'm not going to do that, but it's good it's included. Anyway, we'll proceed with full disk installation like that, and it's found the only drive on this system. Nothing else is there. It's got to be that SSD, so we'll install on that disk. And as usual, we'll use the magic of filmmaking to speed on through. And there we are, it's finished. So we can now shut down the system like that. And boot up again. I'll just press the power switch on the Radsa X4. There we go. And hopefully we're now going to boot back into FydeOS. We'll do this in real time. It's coming up. There's the Radsa logo, and hopefully there's the FydeOS logo. And there we are. We do now have to set things up again because this is now a clean install, so I'll do that. Once again, I'll use a local account. And we're back in FydeOS, now installed on our SSD. Greetings, here I am back again, and I've changed the desktop wallpaper, as you can see. If I right click and set wallpaper and style, you can see there's loads of wallpapers available. I've taken one from all the fantastic landscapes here, but there's masses and masses of beautiful wallpapers available we can set here in FydeOS. And the other thing I've done since I saw you last is to log into various online applications, which is what a Chromium-based operating system is all about. Here I've logged into Google Docs and I've opened a Google Docs document, which works fine, although it hasn't got the right font. Everything here is in Verdana, which is what I normally use, and we haven't got Verdana available on this system, and I've yet to figure out how to fix that. I'll maybe fix it in the future. I've also logged into Microsoft Office 365, logged into my email, that works fine. And the other thing I've logged into is Photopea, and yes, it's pronounced Photopea, not Photopea, the fantastic online version of Photoshop. This I'm logged into via my Facebook account because I purchased a subscription to Photopea so I don't have any advertising. It's a fantastic piece of software, and again it works very well indeed here in FydeOS. This said, I'm sure some of you are interested in running Android applications, so let's go down to the launcher, and guess what? We have to click on Android like that, and we have to agree to the terms and launch, and this should activate the Android subsystem. I think it's just done it. Let's close that down. Seems to be okay. And if you're wondering where would we find Android apps, there is a store here. This is the FydeOS store, and this has got various things in it. Some things by FydeOS themselves, various things they label as essential. These are links out to standard sort of services, as you can see. We've got ChatGPT there, but never mind, we've got other things as well. But we've also got here some Android apps, and lots of very useful Android apps. We've got Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, etc. Twitter. Good to see it's still called Twitter here. And somewhere down here we have, I think, Lightroom from Adobe. So let's try going into that and add that. And we can now open the app. There we go. Welcome to Lightroom. We will skip the introduction and I'll have to log in. And there we are. We're now running Lightroom. There are no photos on this device, so it's actually not found anything, but the principle is clearly shown. We can run Android apps here in FydeOS. You might also be wondering about the Play Store, and there is an experimental feature here for installing the Play Store. If we go back to the store and we go to Made by FydeOS and we click on Configure Open GApps like this and we add this in theory allows us to add the Play Store. But it is experimental and I've been experimenting with it and it doesn't like this particular hardware. But we'll open the app like that and agree with the license and next. And next again. And install. Do we really want to do it? Yes, we do. Lots of checking there. And when it's finished, we do need to do a reboot. So we will do that. Here we are back again. And if we now look in Launcher, and there we are, we do have the Play Store. It's just come up and says this device isn't certified. I think it therefore isn't going to work. It didn't work for me previously, but I thought I'd show you this and I'll try signing in. It doesn't let me do it. This device isn't Play Protect certified. So there we are. Play Store, at least for me, is not working here, but we can run a number of Android apps, including those which are provided here in the FydeOS App Store. Guess what? It's me back again with another background, and I've been experimenting installing Android apps. For example, I've installed PaperDraw, which is a little drawing application. It's sadly stuck in portrait mode, but it does work. We can do a bit of, well, drawing and stuff, as you can see. To get out of it, we seem to have to go down like that and close. I've also installed CapCut for doing video type stuff. This does work out of its portrait mode, which is nice. And I've also installed WPS Office, which works. We can look at an exciting Sudoku game apparently. There we are. Clearly we can use WS Office. Close down that. And I've even installed Adobe Express, which is also functional. Again, stuck in portrait mode. But again, you could use this to do, well, the kind of stuff you can do in Adobe Express. And so it's pretty clear we can run Android applications successfully here in FydeOS. This said, I'm personally more interested in running Linux applications. And if we go to the terminal down here, the first time you run the terminal, it gives us the option to set up the Linux development environment. So let's click on that and turn on here Linux development environment like that. And next. And I'll keep my username as EC. 10 gigabytes of space should be enough for testing things out, and we'll click on Install. And there we are. We've now got a Linux terminal running on this system. Let's be tidy. Let's get rid of that. And let's see if we can install an application. Let's start with a sudo apt and an update. That would seem sensible. There we are, and we'll keep things at the top of the screen. And let's now try a sudo apt install and GIMP. Do you think this will work? It might do. And there we are, it has worked. Can we run it from the terminal? Let's have a go. We can. This is impressive. We're running GIMP here in FydeOS. Wow. File and a new. Let's do a document like that. And let's do just pick up a brush or something, Christopher, and we can just scribble. Yes, we've got it working. And I would imagine, we just get rid of that, I would imagine if we go down to the launcher, yes, GIMP is here in the launcher. And the only problem with it is it's slightly fuzzy, and I think the reason for that is because I've got a high scale factor set. So I'm just going to get rid of that a second just to prove it shouldn't be like that. Let's go to settings and we'll go to display. We'll set this back to 100%, which will make things too small for me here. but should mean we don't have any problems running up our Linux application. So let's run up GIMP again. Yes, this time things are nice and sharp. So there we are. We've seen we can run Android apps and Linux software here in FydeOS. Hello there, Background Man back again, and I've been installing even more Linux applications just to test things out. For example, I've installed Inkscape for vector graphics. This works perfectly well, and I've even installed the Kdenlive video editor. I thought I'd be wild, but this works too. Here's a little test edit. I thought maybe it would struggle with video playback because of drivers and things, but no, it works absolutely fine. Performance will of course depend on your particular hardware, but it is possible to edit video in Kdenlive here in FydeOS. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised because the Linux subsystem works perfectly well in ChromeOS Flex, but it's also great to see it also works here. And the final thing I want to tell you about is if you want to stream DRM protected media content, such as videos from Netflix and Disney Plus and similar streamers, you will need to enable Widevine, as is detailed here in the help system for FydeOS. And Widevine is a Google technology for playing DRM protected content, and enabling it is pretty straightforward. First of all, we have to download the appropriate files for our architecture. Here we're on a PC, so we'll click on x86 like that. And when the files are downloaded, we can see them in a folder. This matters because they're compressed, so what we have to do is to click on that there, which will mount it down there. And then when we've done that, we can close this down, go to the settings down here, and scroll down to FydeOS settings, scroll down to enable Widevine like that, and then go down here and keep navigating down again and again. And is that it? I think it is. We can pick up that we can and open, and all we now have to do is to restart. So let's do that. And here we are back again, and we've added yet another feature to FydeOS. Although, for hopefully obvious copyright reasons, it's not one I can demonstrate in this video. FydeOS is a great cloud operating system that can bring new life to old hardware. And whilst I'm personally a massive user of Google services, it is nice to be able to install a Chromium-based operating system that can be used with a local account. But now that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I hope to talk to you again very soon.